Deep down, you've always felt the call. Like you were sent here for something more. This is your chance to do something big. The Spin Positive Revolution is here. Welcome to the Spin Positive Revolution, where we're going to combine our collective spiritual magic to ignite the global awakening of humanity. And let me tell you, my friend, we are well on our way. This podcast is the official communication channel for that movement, for the Spin Positive Revolution. Here we're going to share all the news and updates and happenings that are going on regarding the revolution. So be sure to check into every episode so you don't miss anything. Today, we're going to talk about the Great Energy War. This is the whole reason why we need the Spin Positive Revolution in the first place. It is, without a doubt, in my opinion, the single most important issue facing humanity today. But unfortunately, most of us have long lost our true understanding of it. And what's more important, and what's even worse, is we've lost our understanding of just how easy it is for humanity to win the Great Energy War and for the light to win. That's the tragic part. Today, we're going to demystify all that. We're going to share how easy it would be for humanity to win this war. We don't have to endure evil. We don't have to abide evil. It doesn't have to exist on our planet, and it isn't supposed to. In fact, it's our job as Lightworkers, and everybody's a Lightworker, to collectively police the dark mojo issue and the evil issue on the planet, something we haven't done properly for a very long time. And that's why we're in the shape we're in. But it's all a function of the Great Energy War. It's a planned thing, and it's playing out. We know exactly step by step how it's played out to this day. And we also know and have a pretty good understanding of how it's going to play out in the future. That's all in the Core Enlightenment, and that's all in that powerful wisdom that I'm both sharing here and through the Spin Positive Master Series. It tells us exactly what's going to happen. And this roadmap was given to us by the most powerful conscious energy ever manifested for the sole purpose that it gives a shit about humanity. And once again, it's telling us how we move forward and survive and beat the negative energy problem that's happening on this planet. Something we have failed to do for the duration of our recorded history. We have the roadmap to victory. The light can win. We can win the Great Energy War. We're going to talk about that today. Be sure to stick around if you want to know, and trust me, you do. Like I said, it is the single most important thing affecting you and affecting me and affecting humanity as a whole and affecting the entire planet. And we've got it all figured out. My name is Mojoe Mike Garrett. I live to do two things. Number one, I live to kick the shit out of dark mojo. That's negative energy. That's what I do on the daily. That's my main gig. Is smoking dark mojo, man, and training other people how to smoke dark mojo. That's my thing. Not only do I like to smoke dark mojo, but I also like to share the Core Enlightenment of Spin Positive. That's the powerful wisdom that makes up the foundation of the Spin Positive Master Series, and also is the backbone of everything that I'm going to share here. This powerful wisdom was shared with us, with humanity, by the most powerful conscious energy ever manifested in our physical universe for the sole purpose of us using it as a roadmap into the future to defeat not only what's happening on the planet right now, but to ensure that we build the perfect society moving forward. And I'm going to share it here, so be sure to stick around. I'm also sharing the Core Enlightenment through the Spin Positive Master Series. That's a 6-volume book series where I will share, it will be the complete revelation of the Core Enlightenment. Every word of it will go in that book series. As you move through that book series, you build a master plan for your life. You build a lifestyle around this powerful wisdom. Now, I call the Core Enlightenment the owner's manual for the human condition because it teaches us how to live the happiest, healthiest, most purpose-driven and prosperous lives we can, while at the same time restoring our full spiritual power. We are intended to be very powerful spiritual beings. Very powerful, and the Core Enlightenment restores that power in us and leads us down the path, becoming the powerful Lightworker we were intended to be, which is imperative if we're gonna live a happy and satisfying life. We've got to unlock that power. We need those gifts and tools at our disposal moving forward. So that's what you do through the Master Series. You build a master plan around that enlightenment to master this experience and and become and unlock your power as the powerful warrior lightworker you're intended to be. If that sounds good to you and you want to get started with the Core Enlightenment, pick up your copy of Volume 1 of the Spin Positive Master Series today, The Universe's Guide to Mastering Your Power. We start off early on, getting that spiritual power unlocked and putting it to play in your life. I have your Volume 1 waiting for you with your name on it at spinpositive.com. Go get it today. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to declare your powerful intention set every day. Here it is right here. This is what we're doing. This is the whole point of the Spin Positive Revolution right now, or one of the main points. We got some other shit going on too, but this is the main thing we're doing and pushing right now is we want to get everybody declaring this intention set every day. We understand fully how powerful our conscious power is, and the fact that as light workers, we are essentially mini deities with the ability to manifest anything we need in our experience to make our lives better and easier to navigate. Through these intentions, we are doing a number of things. First, we are declaring our intention for the great awakening of humanity. That's imperative. That's a big thing. People must awaken to the problem. We're also hoping to dissolve all systems of oppression. And as we go along, we're going to build the most enlightened society. We're also thwarting the nefarious takeover of the United States government through these intentions, another big thing, and that's been kicking up heavy. And I've been glad to see our thwarting is working in a big, big way. And then finally, we intend for peace in the Middle East. But one of the most important things that also happens through this intention set is right away, you cloak yourself in powerful spiritual protection from Dark Mojoe, and that's a very important thing. Dark Mojoe is coming after all light workers, whether they practice their light work or not. Dark Mojoe is coming after all people who are spinning positive, all positive energy people in a big way today, because we are in the throes of the great energy war, and it has been playing out for millennia around us, and the darkness certainly has a foothold and is working hard to bring down the light of humanity in a big way. So you definitely want that protection, very important. It also strengthens that conduit of source through you, so your higher power can work through you as you do your light work. These intentions have been specifically engineered by the Spin Positive Institute to cover all the bases for the Spin Positive Revolution, but at the same time to also provide you with the protection and the other spiritual gifts you need during your day to practice your light work. So this is what we do every day. We set this intention. It takes about 2 minutes. We put our conscious manifestative power behind it. We intend for this to happen. And as we get to the part where we're declaring for the global awakening, we visualize that light bulb with the tar on it and that tar burning off. That's the visualization. That's what we are manifesting. That symbolizes the oppressive blindness, keeping humanity from awakening. And we're burning that off with our conscious manifestative power in a big way. So we want to definitely do that when we get there. Anyway, that's what we're doing. If you haven't downloaded your copy, you can download a free PDF copy of this and keep it wherever you meditate, wherever you charge your energy for the day, wherever you drink your coffee, because you want to do this early on, wherever you get started. Print it out and keep it there. There's a free PDF available. There's also this handy dandy, really nice full color version. The PDF is black and white. This is full color, and it's also heavy duty cardstock, and it's laminated. This is available at spinpositive.com. This heavy duty intention set is laminated against the elements. It will stand the test of time. It will be with you throughout the duration as you fight the Spin Positive Revolution. And thank you again for setting these every day. This will hold up, man. I really dig this. I'm happy I have these. I'm happy we made these. At first I was like, okay, we'll make them available. But then after I have some around, these are really handy to have. If I have forgotten, or if somebody has forgotten their intention and you see that there, it reminds you, oh, I got to set these. So this is really handy. I actually have these all over the place. They're also heavy duty. You can stick them to the wall, which is nice too, in a common area, in a community area, so people can see them as they walk by. Maybe people who haven't joined up yet will see that and go, what is this? I want to be a part of this. Then they can go to spinpositive.com and get their own copy. Anyway, these are available through the Mojoe Master Marketplace there at spinpositive.com. We've made those available. We also have the daily intention set for the Warrior Lightworker Daily Intentions from the Master Series. Those are available laminated too as well. So when you get to, I think it's chapter 16, where we talk about intentions and begin setting our daily intentions as a part of our master plan. This is handy to have around. Pick up your copy. I have more and more people coming up to me every day and going, man, I used to be MAGA, but I had this aha moment or something happened. The way the current administration is offending absolutely everybody and is putting hardship on everybody is opening a lot of eyes. You know, suffering breeds enlightenment. I know the GOP has a hard time with that, but suffering breeds enlightenment. The Buddha talked about that in a big way. And suffering breeds awakening. So as they cause suffering and as they do more things to cause people fear and anxiety to the point that they are, these people will awaken and come to our side. And that's what we want to have happen. We want to have this organic awakening take place. And the more that it takes place every day, and the more people that come up to us and say, look, I used to be the darkness, now I'm the light. That's a win for us. And we relish those greatly. And they're happening more and more every day. So our intention is working. Now, what we are ultimately intending for is the 100th monkey effect awakening of happening when we hit the 200 millionth Lightworker. That collective awakening will happen automatically. We want as many organically awakened people already by the time that happens. We want very few people to have to undergo that collective awakening. We want most people to already have achieved awakening on their own. I believe that's the most concrete way for someone's awakening to make a huge impression on them and make an impact in their life is to happen organically. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a majority of organic awakenings, and people are getting awakened every day, more and more, and seeing where there's oppression in political platforms and where the oppression lies in the economic system and where the oppression lies in religion. More and more people are waking up to that every day. So our intentions are working. That's the most important thing that can happen. The universe made that very clear when I was given the revelations for the spin positive revolution, was that the awakening must happen. That's the most important thing. If we cannot see what's happening because of oppressive blindness, and we're going to talk about how it all went down and how we ended up oppressively blind to the extent that we are today, we're going to talk about how all that went down through this program. And I'm telling you, it makes perfect sense. And when you start analyzing the Core Enlightenment and how it explains how things happened and how things are happening, it answers every question that we have is, why does this happen the way it does? Everything makes sense when you think about it from a spiritual and energetic level. And when you fully understand what's happening with the great energy war that we're going to talk about today, and when you understand how the different sides move to make advances in that war, then you can see why things happen the way they do. And a lot more things begin to make sense. And the moves of different political systems and economic systems and organized religions and things like that begin to make more sense. It really does answers a lot of questions. But that's why there's been such a huge campaign to throw us off the understanding of this great energy war. In fact, it's been so muddled. And religion's big thing, one of their big things was muddling up our understanding of the great energy war so that we don't collectively fight it. In fact, I would say it's been the single greatest influence on us losing the ability to fight Dark Mojo effectively. It hasn't been an accident. It's been an orchestrated thing, an orchestrated offensive from the darkness that has led to where we are today. And it's all because of this war we're going to talk about. In the meantime, keep setting those daily intentions every day. Here in the very near future, I'm going to start doing lives on TikTok where we can set the intentions collectively live at the same time. I'm also going to go live and have group meditations and visualization things happening, so be looking for that too. We'll be starting those in the very near future. But right now, we need every Lightworker we can setting those intentions every day. We need every Lightworker in the fight because the darkness knows that it's under attack. And it also knows that it's losing momentum. It certainly is. It's going to fight back super hard. And now we're seeing a lot of overtly fascist shit happening with the current administration. The gloves are off. They now know that the people who follow them are going to follow them forever. So they don't have to put on any facade to hide what it is they're trying to do. An awakened person can see very clearly what the plan is. With the United States, they can see it's a very overt coup taking place to upseat the current power structure and to cement this executive-led authoritarian Project 2025 power structure. That's what's happening. And so they're lashing out. We're going to see a lot of fascist shit happen fast as they continue to grasp onto power. We're going to see more and more shit happen. So be ready for that. One of the things we're going to see is more overtly fascist authoritarian shit. They're going to try to lock down control because ultimately what they want in fascism is they want their party and they don't want any opposition. I honestly figured that would take a few years to work itself out, but they're coming at it hardcore. They're definitely building this divide in the country of left versus right, and they're trying to set us up for some kind of a civil war. That's what it looks like to me. It's what makes sense. I think it's just going to be neighbor versus neighbor out doing the shit because it's the only thing that could happen today because this political divide is so interwoven into our communities at the neighborhood level and at the community level that it's just going to be neighbor against neighbor. What we're seeing with the current administration is this huge effort to divide us further, to post the Democrats and the left as the enemy, as the evil, as the cause of all the suffering, and when it's not true at all. They're overtly lying. There is no truth in anything they say anymore. Everything is a lie. They're completely making up facts and stats because they know that their base is going to follow them no matter what. They don't have to tell the truth about anything. Their base is going to follow them no matter what. So they can lie about everything. And one of the things they're lying about is how Antifa is the big enemy and how Antifa is up to no good. Antifa isn't even a real thing. Yet it's been declared enemy number one. Just like I said in a previous episode, they will declare war against everybody who disagrees with them. And that's exactly what Antifa is. That's what they've done. They've declared war against Antifa. It's a terrorist organization. Anything they want to do to fight Antifa is a fair fucking thing to do now because we're all terrorists. Anybody who disagrees with them now is a terrorist. And if you listen to right-wing media, that shit is off the chain. They are pushing for civil war like you wouldn't believe. The amount of rhetoric that they're putting and the amount of hate they're putting into these people's hearts for their fellow Americans, especially for progressives like me. I'm a full-on progressive. I'm not a liberal. I'm a progressive. I believe we should all get paid to pursue our life purpose. And I think a lot of other things, too, that go against the status quo. I'm a huge progressive. I'm not the enemy of any man. I'm not the enemy of the working man at all. I'm an ally of the working man. In fact, I used to be an enemy of the working man when I was a greedy capitalist. Working as an executive for corporations and having them do greedy shit. I was the guy orchestrating the fucking greedy shit. And I know exactly how the working man is getting fucked. So I intend to now use my understanding of the system to fight it and to help the working man understand that you're getting fucked hardcore under capitalism and you're only going to continually get fucked and it's only going to get worse because of people like me or people like how I used to be. I'm telling you, man. And I was able to justify everything I did. I never considered myself evil doing the shit that I did. It was just, that's what you had to do because business is all numbers. And if you understand the numbers drive the game. It's the numbers' fault. It's not my fault. I could justify everything and they'll be able to justify everything they do too. It's going to get ugly for the working man. And I'm here to fight for the working man as a progressive and to make your life easier and happier. And to get you on the path of pursuing your purpose, what God puts you here to do. That's my platform. I don't know how that can be construed as evil. I want you to have free health care. I want you to have free college. I don't want you to go into debt and be a debt slave. That's fucking evil? Okay, whatever. We're living in the upside down, so that's evil now. But anyway, that's why I want as a progressive. I don't want you to fall victim to the schemes of the capitalism that's coming your way. And there's going to be some crazy shit come down the pipe because the low-hanging fruit for growth, it's all been plucked. So now they got to do crazy shit. And they're going to come up with even more crazy shit to fuck the worker as time goes on because you have to fuck the worker. That's the only thing you have left to fuck at the end of the day when you need to squeeze blood from a turnip. You got to do it from the labor force. You can only push your machines so far. You can only push the other people that you're in business with so far. Eventually, When you need that blood, you squeeze it from the labor force, and it's going to start squeezing even harder for the labor force. We are definitely it's definitely not a working man's market. And this whole thing about AI, the only reason why this AI bubble is happening, and the only reason why the tech bubble happened in the 90s is because rich people counted on you losing your job. And for AI and for technology to take a lot of jobs, labor is the most expensive thing a business has. In most cases, you know, your staff is the most expensive thing you got going on, or at least one of them. And that's a huge expense. And any way you can lower that, it's a big boon for profitability. And any way you can lower that consistently over time and take the human element out, that's a boon for profitability. And so that's why this bubble's happening. They're counting on a lot of people being unemployed, and yet we go, hey, my 401k is doing better than ever. It's doing better than ever because if you're in the working class, they're counting on you being out of a job. And as soon as the numbers come back, and just like in the tech bubble of the 90s, as soon as the numbers come back and people aren't losing their jobs fast enough to technology, that bubble's going to burst just like it did before. But it's going to continue to be inflated, you know, artificially inflated until the very end. Antifa's the enemy now. I got off track there. Antifa's the enemy. Everybody who disagrees is the enemy. So now they have carte blanche really to go to war against anybody who disagrees with the administration. The right has been salivating over that for a very long time, and now they have it. Anybody who disagrees with them now is an enemy, and they can't wait to turn those hoarded gun collections on their fellow Americans. Let's face it, that's the reason why they have amassed these guns in the first place, is to turn them on other people, not other militaries, because an AR-15 doesn't stack up against an Abrams tank or an F-35 or anything like that. It's always been to fight your neighbor. And so they can't wait. The right wing can't wait to turn their guns against their neighbor. They've been waiting to do it forever, and they're going to get the chance eventually. I really believe they are. If you look at everything that's happening, it looks like they are trying to goad us into civil war. That's the most logical deduction somebody with a brain would make from not only the things that the right-wing media is saying, but also the things that the administration in power is currently doing. Look at what happened with this Charlie Kirk thing, right? That was a huge opportunity for the right-wing power structure to further divide the country, and it worked great. Before the blood even dried from that whole altercation, President Trump was on social media blaming the radical left and saying the radical left did it. They're to blame. And before sundown that day, right-wingers were all over social media begging President Trump to have the ability to go solve the problem themselves. They wanted to turn their guns loose on their neighbors. I saw guys begging to go door to door to exterminate the leftist problem in this country because they know which one of their neighbors are leftists, and they could solve the problem in a weekend. Many of them were saying, we know who the real problem is. Let us go after them. Eventually that's going to happen. I think Donald Trump is salivating at the thought daily of turning his rabid base against something and causing violence. He did it on January 6th, way back when he lost the election. He honestly thought his base was going to be strong enough to overturn everything that happened and keep them in power. They weren't, because at the end of the day, they're not strong at all. And he believes that when he turns his base on us again, this time it'll be against the American people. They'll have the ability to do serious damage against the left, which all of a sudden he hates, even though he was part of it up until he ran for president. Trump was trying to inflame the left into violence over this Charlie Kirk thing. I think he really wanted to kick off the Civil War. Civil War would be perfect for him. He wants the Insurrection Act. It's in Project 2025. The GOP is not ever planning on ceding power ever again. It's in that document. If you didn't read it, you should have. They're going to do the Insurrection Act. They're going to propose to postpone elections, with the fourth pillar being, after they get everything locked up the way they want it, they're going to dissolve the Constitution in full and build up their own thing, their whole new thing, this new country that's going to have a completely different constitution and everything. That's what they want to do. They're going to dissolve, break everything down, and ultimately bankrupt it and that's where we're heading. America will be bankrupt. I know that there's a lot of people saying America could never go bankrupt. Yes, we can. They're trying to bankrupt us now. If you ask me, what it looks like, what they're doing is the old beach the whale thing in private equity, where you take a functioning fucking business or a business that has potential, and you load it with so much fucking debt to pay the investorship, and it's all a scheme to put debt on the business to funnel it to the investorship, and then you end up tanking the business. That's what it looks like they're doing with the government. Is some big-ass private equity beach the whale where they siphon all the income from what's coming in to their investorship, to other rich people. They're going to get all the contracts, and they're going to riddle it with so much debt. With this, the debt now is $38 trillion, I think. That's amazing. Like, we're gaining trillions now instead of billions. It's incredible, and no one knows what the ultimate consequence of that's going to be until after it happens, because it's never happened. So they don't really know what's going to happen. But anyway, it's going to cost us a lot in the long run. And I think they're just going to at some point go, look, we're bankrupt. We can't pay the debt for whatever reason, however that works or something. They'll use that as part of the reason why they have to build this new thing. I think that is looking very likely. I don't think that's a far-fetched thing. Now, if you'd have told me that many years ago, I'd say that's nuts. It couldn't happen. But the amount of debt that's being racked up and the quickness of it leads me to believe that maybe that is the scheme. They're going to funnel as much money as they can to themselves through schemes and what have you that comes in. That appears to be what they're doing. And then they're going to ride that grift as long as they can. And then they'll bankrupt the whole thing and build their new thing with the new Constitution. That's what they want to do. I did a whole thing on that. And that's why we have it in the intentions. I call for the divine thwarting of any nefarious takeover of the United States government, because that's what they want to do. As flawed as America was, it's a cesspool for the greedy right now. It doesn't have to be that way. It could be different. And if we could use the powers of America for the light, that would be a wonderful thing. We'd have to make a lot of changes, but it would be a nice thing to have, wouldn't it? So it would be nice. We don't want it completely tanked. We want to take over the system that's there now from the inside out with our progressive ideas. That's what we want to do. We don't want to have to build something new, but if we have to, we will. But ideally, what we wanted to do, what the plan was, take over the system, turn it into the progressive society that it's intended to be under the capitalist banner while we transition to the ultimate socialistic society that is in the Core Enlightenment. It would be a transition thing. That'd be the easiest and least painful and the least likely of major service disruptions in our lives with, like, big periods of no power and no water and no garbage pickup. That's very likely to happen in the event of, having to collapse the whole system and build something new. Would have been easier just to transition. But I don't know. They're hell-bent on collapsing the system. They have this whole thing of getting rid of the liberties of America and getting rid of the American dollar. They hate the fucking dollar now for some reason. They want to switch everything to crypto. So we're going to see this tanking of the dollar, and that's happening. Look at how fast it's losing value. They know exactly what they're doing to do that. They just recently released this crypto idea that they want to do. So big changes are coming. The United States isn't the United States 5 years from now, one way or another, if they get their way. It's not. It's something different. We can step in there and postpone that. Ultimately, we want to build something that works for the people. We could do that under the United States stuff. We got to get all the power taken from the greedy because the greedy make shitty decisions, and they're way too powerful today, making lots of shitty decisions that affect us all. So we got to do something about that. Anyway, so war has been declared. Antifa is the enemy. I would imagine that includes most people listening to this program. So be prepared. Begin doing all the things that I got blasted for saying to do a few episodes ago when I was like, prepare, get ready. They're going to come after us eventually, and they will if they get their way, but they definitely want to if they get the chance. So, prepare yourself. Get ready for civil unrest. That could happen at any time. Like, something could happen, and Trump could unleash his right-wing squad on us. And then next thing you know, we got motherfuckers going door to door, just like ICE is doing now to the immigrants. We'll have right-wingers going door to door, trying to suss out the left problem. So be ready for that. Protect yourself in however way you can, Make sure you got some food stored up at your house in case there is some disruption. Have some water, have some medicine. have some medical supplies. Keep I would say as much as you can, because you just never know. I would say 6 months would be a nice amount to start with. I would try if you can swing that to have about 6 months of food and medicine and stuff on hand. The water's the hard part. Water's the hard thing to store because water takes up a lot of space and it's heavy. So you can't someone in an apartment just can't start filling up tubs of water to store water. It'll crash through the floor. It's heavy. It's got to be done right. That's always the thing. Try to store as much as you can. Hopefully we can get through this whole thing without losing water, because if we do lose water and power, that's going to be a big deal. And there's going to be a lot of people unprepared for that, and it will be chaos. But anyway, try to have some food in case there's disruption in food production and supply line, things like that. That's always a good thing to do. Now would be a good time to start building that mutual aid network if you've been thinking about it. Those are good things to have. We are intended to survive as a community. We aren't intended to all be out struggling under rugged individualism. That's not how humanity is intended. We're intended to all work together, sharing our skills, talents, and labors to ease the burden on everyone. That's how we are intended to be. It's not a bad idea to have some kind of mutual aid network set up where you help one another when things are fucked up, and you look after each other, and you come up with a plan for food and water and medical stuff as a community. That's something that's really good to have, and something we should have anyway, because we are far too dependent on the system today. Of course, that's a planned thing. That's not an accident. Humanity is way too dependent on the system today. Not many people grow their own food. Not many people know how to make clothes and stuff. Like, we are completely dependent on the system. And that's kind of a bad way to be. We should have some sort of a mutual aid thing set up in every community where there are people who can, build things and fix things and maybe even make clothes in case things do devolve. Because I have a feeling they're going to. In my lifetime, we're going to see some level of devolution to where things are going to get dicey. And so it's nice to have that fixed up and built up beforehand. And also to get out in your community to learn who's who. And to kind of keep an eye on who you can rely on when things get crazy, and who you also might need to look out for in that same situation. So that's always good intel to have. And the only way you're going to get that is to get out and meet people, feel their energy, share their energy, and get an idea of what they know and whether they'll be an asset or a liability. Ultimately, they're trying to goad the left into violence. We saw that with the Charlie Kirk thing. They blamed the left, but the left did it. They thought the left would violently lash out for being blamed, but then they talked about putting Charlie Kirk on currency and flying him in Air Force Two or some shit, or some presidential plane, and there were rumors that he was going to lay in state at the Capitol and all this. They were doing that solely as propaganda, not only to incite passion in their base, which that's a very powerful tool, but to also try to goad the left into violence and go, fuck these motherfuckers, put them on money, that's sacred, let's go get them, let's burn this motherfucker down. That's what they were planning on happening. And then they thought we were going to get violent at the big No Kings March. That didn't happen because the left, we're not offensively violent. We don't go out looking for trouble. We handle trouble if it comes our way, but we don't go out looking for it. And so we also have way better control of our emotions, obviously, if you watch the reaction to that Charlie Kirk thing, than the right. And so we're less likely to be goaded into violence. They've tried really hard. They think we're just as reactionary as they are. We're not. That's been proven. They can point guns at us and we'll stand there in a bunny suit and wave at them. That's just the way we are. Because we understand that violence never solves anything. It's never the answer. They're trying to goad us into violence. But the left isn't going to be, we're not going to respond with the violence the way that they want us to. In fact, everything that we've seen that's been violent, both assassination attempts on Trump and the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, they're all right-wingers. Right-wing. The right wing has a propensity for violence, not the left wing. So eventually they'll tire of that. And I figured the easiest thing for them to do would be to false flag something, and just with AI and with everything else, create some scenario where the left did something. so that they could justify, violence against the left. But it looks like instead of doing that, they're going to starve their own base and blame it on the Democrats, because what we have happening now is they're cutting off SNAP benefits. The Republicans are cutting off SNAP benefits, just like they're trying to cut off your health insurance and your Medicare and everything else. They're cutting off SNAP benefits for everybody, and the right wing, there's a lot of right wingers on SNAP. They're going to get hungry, and all the right-wing media says, blame the left for this. It's the left's fault. It's the left's fault. You're hungry. Blame the left. It's the left's fault. You're hungry. And so they're going to blame us when they get hungry, even though it's the Republicans that are doing everything to cut these programs. It's the Republicans who were ordered by the court to fund SNAP and then said, nope, we're not going to do that, and then had their Supreme Court buddies side with them. It's the Republicans who ordered all the states who were going to take it into their own hands and just use their own funds for benefits. They ordered them to stop. Why? Because they want that violence. The cruelty is the point. They want their base to starve so they'll rise up against the left. That's the plan. So that's the whole thing with the SNAP thing. And whether it happens this time or they at the last minute pay them or whatever, I don't know. But that's going to be one of the tools they use to turn the right against the left. The right-wing media has lost it. That shit is bonkers. It is fucking bonkers. It is an alternate reality. But that's what 30% of the country believes? And, that can't be discounted in any fucking way. That media is bonkers. I know some of the shit we talk about's out there, but it's based in reality. I can back everything that's happened up in reality, but man, their shit, they just invent things. It's all invention. It's lies. It's lies and propaganda, with the only deducible goal being to goad their base into violence. It's going to be right wing versus left. The military will probably be involved on the side of the right, I would imagine. In fact, this whole in-person meeting with Hegseth that they made all the generals meet in one place was they had cameras set up, and they're scanning the faces of all the generals using software that can tell basically how that person is reacting to what they're hearing, whether they're reacting positively and they agree with it, or whether they're acting negatively and they disagree with it. There's software that can analyze that kind of thing. And that's why they had to meet in one place. Now it all makes sense. I knew there was some nefarious reason, and that's it. They scanned their faces as they said the things they said, especially about going to war in American cities. They used that software to then go and talk to the people who looked like through the software that they would be a problem. And they're weeding them out now. The press has been talking about it ever since that meeting. Hegseth has been letting people go, and he's been purging fucking general staff. He is getting the military geared up for civil fucking war. He's going to have only the generals and the general staff that agrees with the plan to go to war in America. I'm telling you, civil war is coming if they get their way. It's the only thing that makes sense. They tried to goad us into violence with the Charlie Kirk thing, didn't happen. The No Kings thing was a bust. Now they're going to starve their base and blame it on the Democrats. Though the polarity they're bringing with the right wing's propensity for violence and anger, it only leads to one thing, more violence. And that's where we're heading, so be ready. Arm yourself. Oh, that gets me in trouble. I'm a light worker. You shouldn't be telling people to arm themselves. Are you kidding me? I just tell people to have food and stuff in their house. If they don't have some way to protect that, it's not going to be their food for long. So yeah, I know. Unfortunately, we live in a society where having firearms is a necessity. It's a right, but it's really kind of a necessity when you look at what's coming. And if it does happen the way that it looks like it could, then you definitely want to be protected. I have no interest. I don't have no stocks in gun companies, but I do know this. The person that shows up to your house to steal your food is going to have a gun. Almost guarantee it. And so you might want to have one too. You're not a light worker. I said, do you realize that Archangel Michael, the single greatest light worker ever, carries a sword? What the fuck do you think he has that sword for, my man? It ain't for looks. Sometimes we got to carry a sword. We respond accordingly to the stimuli in our environment. That's all we're doing. But you got to be prepared. So be prepared accordingly. However you would prepare for a civil war where the president gives your neighbors who disagree with you the authority to attack you. is a very real possibility on our time. So prepare accordingly. That's all. There's a couple of things. Yes, Project 2025 wants some kind of a emergency so they can declare the Insurrection Act or they can somehow suspend elections. It's all in there. They don't want elections moving forward. They know their shit's unpopular. They can't win elections. They've said that shit publicly. They're not going to give up power. They've been planning this for 50 fucking years. They got everything they need. They're not going to give up power. If you don't think that some suspension of elections are coming, I intend for your awakening. If they have the ability to do it, they will. Absolutely. Or if they just lose an election, they just go, we're not giving up power. That's a real possibility too. It's really a miracle Trump left the White House the first time. If he would have had then what he has now, he wouldn't have. Guarantee it. So he's not going to leave. Of course, he's dead. He's going to be dead soon. He's got like a year left, I think, according to my timeline. It shows him out by midterms or thereabouts. It shows his successor having 2 full terms in the remainder of his. So that's 10 years. Well, it showed a rule of 10 years. And I guess there's still going to be elections. I just assumed there would be. But it showed the rule of 10 years in my prophecy that I was given after this guy gets out, the current guy gets out. He's out by the middle of the first term because it's the other guy the other people really wanted in. And that's exactly what it is. The Heritage Foundation wanted J.D. Vance in, not Trump. Trump was just the guy who would get in there and get elected. J.D. Vance is the guy they got wrapped around their finger and is the guy that they want doing everything. They want him in there and they're working toward that end. And he's going to be in there way before the next election, according to my prophet. And so far, things are working out exactly like they worked out in this thing that I thought would never happen. And here it's happening. It's spooky, I'm telling you. Hey, whatever's coming through me gives a shit about us. That's all I know. It's a positive fucking energy that cares about us, is sharing shit with us so we don't make stupid mistakes moving forward. So we should pay attention, at least heed it and go, all right, maybe there's something to this. Because when we start talking about the great energy war, you'll see that everything makes fucking sense. The way that it's explained makes sense on why things are happening the way they are. Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about in just a minute. We'll be right back. Are you tired of getting kicked around by life? Is your experience getting harder instead of easier to navigate? Fight back and master your life with the Spin Positive Master Series, a 6-volume book series leading you into your highest being. I call it the Martial Art for Life Mastery, available now at spinpositive.com. Each volume reveals another level of powerful wisdom called Core Enlightenment. It makes up the foundation of the Spin Positive Master Series. This wisdom guides you step by step to achieve your highest purpose. Begin your self-help revolution for life mastery today with the Spin Positive Master Series. Become the next Blue Level Master as you unlock your power with Volume 1, The Universe's Guide to Mastering Your Power. It's perfect guidance to become the powerful person you are intended to be. Available now at spinpositive.com. Get your copy today at spinpositive.com. All right, the time has come to delve into the main event of this episode. And today we're talking about the Great Energy War. And this is, without a doubt, the most important issue facing humanity. It really is. It's also an issue that we've lost almost all of our true understanding of, and that's not an accident. There has been an incredible campaign waged against humanity to slowly erode away our understanding of this war. And a big part of us fighting this war comes through our spirituality. So a huge campaign has been fought to separate us from our understanding of our spirituality too. So not only have we lost the understanding of our full spiritual power, but we've also lost how we use it to fight and win the Great Energy War. Spiritually powerful people, if we were spiritually powerful and we truly understood our spiritual power the way we were intended to, humanity would not put up with what is happening on the planet today. We simply wouldn't. And the powers that be understand that. The powers that be that are working for the agenda of the darkness for the Great Energy War would not like that. They wouldn't like us to be spiritually powerful. And yes, the people in power today are definitely working for the darkness. When you start peeling back the onion of things happening, that's pretty evident to see. And when you start analyzing everything that happens from an energetic perspective, and you start thinking about, does this create positive energy or does this create negative energy? Does this support positive light forces or does this support negative dark forces? When you start asking that question about everything that you see and the actions taken by everybody, you begin to see whose side people really are on. And that's all you have to do, is analyze things from an energetic perspective, from a golden rule perspective, and also from, does this create positive energy or does this create negative energy? Because that's ultimately what matters. Because this war that's going on, this great energy war, we can't really understand what's happening. One of the first things the Core Enlightenment began to reveal to me was this issue of the great energy war and how important it was. And at first I thought that this was just the story of God versus the devil, which I was ready to hear because I was very into my religion at that time. But it really went way further than God and the devil. And religion was invented to throw us off the path of our spirituality and to confuse us about the great energy war. And if you listen to religion, they'll tell you that you have to endure dark mojo and that it has to be here until some supernatural event happens, and that's not true. We could get rid of all dark mojo on earth. We could get rid of all the demons, all the devils, and everything else if we put our minds to it. We are not intended to endure dark mojo. In fact, in a perfect world, there is very little to no dark mojo to be found anywhere. That's how we are intended to be. But unfortunately, today, the earth finds itself amidst a phenomenon called the modern mojo mess. There is so much dark mojo everywhere. It's literally piling up on the streets around us. And we're going to talk about that before this episode is through. That, too, is a result of the great energy war. The modern mojo mess is because of the great energy war. One of the first things that was revealed to me through the Core Enlightenment by the universe was this stuff about the great energy war. It was a very important topic. It was what we started off with first thing. And it talked about this great universal struggle between good and evil, light and dark, positive and negative. However you define that, it is a real thing. It goes a little bit deeper than God and the devil, though, or it's different than God and the devil. But it's essentially that age-old battle that we've all heard about and that plays out again time and time in literature and in art and everywhere else. What's really happening with it and why it's taking place, we don't really understand, or we don't have the ability to understand as human beings. And it's not because we're stupid. It's just because we don't yet have the cognitive evolution to understand the concept that's playing out with what's going on with this great energy war and why it's happening. But there is a universal struggle taking place between light and dark, positive and negative. We happen to live in a light universe, and light fuels life here. But that's not the case everywhere. There are some places that are dark, and the darkness fuels life there. And perhaps black holes are windows into these, I don't know. But the dark universes are trying to swallow the light universes. The light universes are trying to outshine the dark universes. It's an age-old struggle that's taking place on universal scales. Entire universes are fighting this. And again, we don't understand what's really taking place. All we really need to know is that there is a struggle taking place. And again, it's not because we're stupid. It's because we don't have the evolutional ability to understand what's going on. It'd be like if you handed a chimpanzee a cell phone and said, explain to me this cell phone and how it works. The chimp's never going to do that because it doesn't have the ability cognitively to make that happen. You could wait 10,000 years, and if the chimp doesn't evolve, it's never going to happen. And that's the same with us. We haven't reached the cognitive ability in our evolution yet. We still got a long way to go. We're pretty primitive in the grand scheme of things. For our cognitive understanding to be able to understand what's happening. And I mean it, we really can't. Someday I'll tell you a story about that, but I don't have time today. But I can tell you it's a good story, but I can tell you for sure we don't have the cognitive ability. I've experienced that firsthand. Someday I'll tell that story. So we don't really have the ability cognitively to understand what's happening on a big picture. But what we do know, and what the Core Enlightenment reveals, is that mojo is very important to both sides in this struggle. The light wants light mojo. The dark wants dark mojo. Now, I don't know if this energy production is the whole goal of everything, or if it's just a really important thing for the great energy war. But for what we need to understand, it's the most important thing going on, is the production of mojo. And the light universes want to produce light mojo. The dark universes want to produce dark mojo. Light mojo fuels life in light universes. Dark mojo fuels life in dark universes. So for the sake of our understanding, all we need to understand is that the purpose of the universe is to create light mojo. That's really all we need to understand right now for our cognitive understanding. And that's all we need to know about it to understand what we need to understand for spin positive and the spin positive revolution. So think of everything as the production of light mojo is the goal, okay? In our universe. Production of dark mojo is the goal over there. Mojo is only produced by living beings. Only living things produce mojo. It's a byproduct of the conversion of energy that happens that fuels the life process. After that conversion takes place, mojo is created. It's the byproduct of life. It's only a byproduct of life. Now, mojo is very important because we just said it's the point of everything. And life in our physical universe happens to be pretty rare on the grand scheme of things. We're not the only life by any means. There's a lot of life. Some would say our universe is teeming with life. There's a lot of life out there. But in the grand scheme of things, given the vastness and everything, it's pretty rare. And so since life is rare in the grand scheme of things, that makes mojo rare in the grand scheme of things overall, because there's not that much life in our physical universe, so there's not that much creation of light mojo. So that means that every living thing creating light mojo has value. Think about that. Every living thing creates mojo. The universe's goal is to create mojo. That means every living thing is important because it's creating mojo. And how do we get light mojo? For a living thing to produce light mojo, it has to spin positive. Light mojo is positive energy. It has to spin positive. It's only going to spin positive if it's happy, healthy, and on the path of its life purpose. Those are three things that are pretty necessary for an organism to spin positive completely. You have to have all three of those things. Any living being can create either light mojo or dark mojo. It all depends. In our universe, for a light being to create light mojo, it has to be happy, healthy, and on the path of its purpose. You have to have all three of those things to spin completely positive. That's what we call spinning positive, when you're happy, healthy, and on the path of your purpose. That's what's needed. And that's what we work toward through the Spin Positive Master Series, is getting all those things in line so you can spin as positive as you can and achieve your zenith being. It all comes down to energy. Okay? And produce as much light mojo as you can. That's your zenith being. That's our goal with the Spin Positive Master Series. That's also where you're essentially high on life. It's a great place to be. I encourage everybody to attempt to achieve it at least once in their time here, because it is a wonderful thing. And that's what we work to achieve through the Master Series. Spin positive as possible. Now, if something isn't happy, healthy, or on the path of their purpose, they're going to spin negative. Okay? And they're going to create dark mojo. When a living being is unhappy, unhealthy, and oppressed from its life purpose, it's going to spin negative. Thousands of years ago, prior to our recorded history, humanity lived a perfect existence. There was a time prior to our recorded history when the great energy war hadn't come to our shores yet. It was waging in the universe around us, but it hadn't come to Earth yet. We were free of the great energy war. This is long before our recorded history. Okay. Now, at that time, every living thing on the planet was on the path of its purpose. It was spinning as positive as it possibly can. It was generally a utopia on the planet at that time, because absolutely everything was pursuing its purpose. Absolutely everything was as happy as it could be, as healthy as it could be. It was a utopia on Earth. The entire planet was spinning positive, and things were going good. Now think about that. Think about all the life on Earth. That's a lot of life. Okay. Earth has a special function in this grand scheme of things. Life is very important in the universe. The Earth is very important in particular because there is a lot of life here. There's a huge variety of life. And according to the Core Enlightenment, that's not the case. everywhere. Not every planet that has life has the variety of life we have here, or had here before human intervention intervened. Just a menagerie. The way it was worded in the Core Enlightenment was a living library. The Earth is a living library of life for the universe. I guess this is where a lot of stuff gets stored, as to what I took away from the Core Enlightenment. The universe and whatever's going on, this creation thing that's happening, there's a lot of examples of life stored here, and I guess those are used elsewhere at some point to seed life in other places. Or maybe it's just a repository of DNA, so it's not lost. I don't know, but it has some function. And there's a lot of life here, a lot more than your average Joe planet, which made it a target for Dark Mojoe in particular, because we do produce so much light mojo. And since light mojo is so important to the grand scheme of things and so important to the Great Energy War, for the light in the Great Energy War, it's really important. It fights the darkness. The darkness doesn't like light mojo. It's at least uses ammunition against it. I know that much. What else is done with it, I don't know. But it's very important for that regard. Dark mojo doesn't like that. It didn't like the fact that Earth was creating as much light mojo as it was. Obviously, it was like a beacon of light mojo out there. So it began a very orchestrated campaign to snuff out the life on planet Earth. And I mean completely snuff it out. And this campaign is working famously. In fact, due to this campaign, a lot of life has already been snuffed out. A lot of species have already gone extinct, and more are going extinct all the time because the plan is working perfectly. And Earth as the big beacon of light is beginning to fade and shine less bright because of this campaign. Now, what happened was Earth was perfect. Humanity was perfect. Dark Mojo didn't like that. It sent down into Earth, into 13 separate clans all around the globe, a little energetic virus, a little energetic seed that would ultimately grow to destroy the entire planet. This energetic seed that was sent was greed. Greed is an energetic virus sent to Earth by the darkness to absolutely destroy all life here. And it is working famously. And by the time it's said and done, it will have destroyed all life if given the opportunity. Greed is the single most destructive phenomena in the history of mankind. And it is celebrated under our current system. Mark my words, greed will be the destruction of humanity. And as it sounds from the Core Enlightenment, the destruction of all life here on Earth as well. This energetic virus was put down into 13 clans, individual mojo clouds. One person in each of these 13 clans was infected with greed. That was tens of thousands of years ago. At least 10,000, as many as maybe 100,000 years ago, depending on how you read the Core Enlightenment. In that window somewhere, greed came down. And prior to that, humanity was perfect. We lived as a community. Everybody worked together. Everybody pitched in and did their part to help manage the Earth, to help all life on Earth spin as positive as possible, and to help humanity evolve as quickly as possible. Everybody was on the path of their purpose, working toward that same goal. Everybody. It was beautiful. It was brilliant. It was the utopia on Earth that everybody dreams of. It was even better than the Garden of Eden that's talked about in the Bible. Perhaps this is where Atlantis fits into the equation. I don't know. Maybe that lost civilization was an example of when we had shit right. Some people seem to think so. Apparently, according to the Core Enlightenment, it did happen. At one point, we had shit figured out, and we were working the way we were intended. Everybody was on the right path. But due to this great energy war, this phenomenon we can't fully understand, but we do understand that mojo is very important. The Earth was creating so much light mojo that Dark Mojo sent greed down into us. And that energetic virus, just like a regular germ, will spread through society and through people and populations. This energetic virus spread through people and populations until it came to take over the entire world. Now, today, According to the Core Enlightenment, virtually every living being has at least a little bit of the greed virus in their mojo cloud. We'll talk about how all that works as time goes on. But you have a little bit of, at least a little bit of this greed in you that could flare up at any time. And it does flare up. And it's easy to get it to flare up. I'll tell you as time goes on, some stories about how I watched that grow in people. I used to be a business consultant. That was my job, man, was helping people be as greedy as possible. And I watched that bug grow. I got to see this firsthand, how that shit works. You can take somebody that's barely greedy at all and doing the right thing. They start earning a little more and they start tasting a little more of the finer things. And next thing you know, that bug starts to grow. And next thing you know, they're feeding that bug exclusively. And it turns into like an addiction, just like any other addiction in people. It's an incredible thing, man. It's a true phenomenon. But anyway, greed, it's a weapon of the darkness, and it is ravaging the planet. And we can't even talk about it. I'm sorry, but capitalism is celebrated greed. It really is. It is unrestricted greed. And what does the GOP want? What does really everybody in politics want, including the Democrats, because they're just managed opposition. They want unregulated fucking greed. That's what capitalism is. And I'm talking as a capitalist, you know, like I said, man, I understand capitalism really well. I tried to defend it for a long time, man. I really did. Because I believed in capitalism. I was the consultant that liked to help the small businesses, the mom and pops, because I was sick and tired of the corporations stomping all over them and doing the things they were doing. So I liked helping the mom and pops fight back against the corporations because I thought that was the noble thing. When I believed in capitalism, I believed in the sole proprietor. You know, it gets muddy when you start dealing with Schedule C corporations and shit like that. Shit gets fucked up and you start talking about publicly traded Schedule C corporations. Then capitalism takes on a whole new monstrosity. And then you talk about international finance for those Schedule C corporations, and you're talking about some crazy shit. And you're getting into, you know, the investment world and all that stuff. Some of our best math minds aren't used to solve problems facing humanity. They're used to develop new financial instruments for ways for people to make money on their money. Yeah, I know greed well. Anyway, greed is the tool used by the darkness here on Earth for the great energy war. And what has happened was, as this greed spread through communities, we used to be communal. Everybody used to work together. All of a sudden, these people who were infected with greed weren't happy with that anymore. They wanted to extract some of the community power into themselves and hold it for themselves. And they began shaking stuff up so they could have more power transferred to them over time. And that just grew and grew. And then as they had children, energetic viruses are passed to your children. We'll talk about that in Volume 3. Their children became infected with the greed, and it spread that way. And then it just spread and spread and spread. And then it can be spread through contact, just like the flu as well under certain conditions back then. And it was. And so now greed's in all of us, and it is ravaging the planet. In the name of profits, we are destroying the planet. There's just no way anybody can argue against that. Look at what's happening around and look at what it's doing. And ultimately, who's going to be fucked at the end of this? The working class will be fucked at the end of all this because we're completely dependent on a system that's destined to collapse today, unfortunately, like we were talking about earlier. Everybody is dependent on the system. We've been made to be dependent. They don't teach you anything you need to know in school that fucking matters. They don't teach you how to grow food. They don't teach you how to build shelter. They don't teach you how to make clothes or forage for medicine. They don't teach you anything that fucking matters at the end of the day. They teach you how to be a good robot under whatever economic system they want you to produce under. That's what the school system's goal is. We are dependent upon a system destined to collapse. Best thing you can do for yourself right now is make yourself as independent from that system as you can, and to take as many variables out of the equation that you're dependent upon the system for, because that is destined to collapse at some point in time. Capitalism lives off of something called established sustained growth or infinite growth, and it just can't go on forever. And today there are so many steps in the supply chain, and each step along the way has to grow so much now. along the way, and more so today than ever, because investors they're looking for bigger returns now than ever. So every step has to grow more and more. The system is becoming more and more inflationary over time. And it's going to fucking suck for the working man, because your earning power is going to continue to go down as prices rise around you. We got to build something new, guys. It's time. Let's build something new. Let's build a system that works for everybody. It can be done. You can be super wealthy. I can be super wealthy. Everybody can be wealthier than they are right now, except for a few people. No, not everybody's going to be a billionaire, but we're not supposed to be. All we're supposed to live comfortably and be able to pursue our life purpose and enjoy this life to the fullest. Everybody could have enough money and enough resources to pursue their life purpose with passion and enjoy their life to the fullest. That's the goal. That's my goal as a radical evil progressive. I want everybody to enjoy life to the fullest. And I want everybody to have the opportunity to pursue their purpose. Yeah, that's what we're intended to do. We weren't intended as a species to slave the best hours and years of our life away to help a small percentage of people get infinite future. And that's what we do today. We slave the best hours and years of our lives away to help a small percentage of people not have to work a day in their life. And it's time for something to change. Things are going to change. The next 20 years from now, things look completely different than they do right now. I mean, completely different. I am not exaggerating when I say that we are in a time of incredible change in humanity. And it's up to the working class, and it's up to us as light workers to decide what path humanity takes moving forward. Are we going to take an enlightened path that works for everybody because we've got the numbers and the combined power to do it? Now's the time. Or are we going to build another system that works only for a few and enslaves the many? That's the question of the day. Will we have the momentum as the working class to come together in any manageable way to shake the system, to build the system we are intended to live under, instead of slaving under another system that only works for the few? I hope we do. I really do. I hope we do. So anyway, greed was let loose in our system. And then these greedy people began to conspire with others to build what we call the oppressive institutions. Why? Because this greed seed, even though you might not be consciously aware, when you're infected with greed, you are working for the darkness, and you are driven to work for the darkness, even if you don't understand that that's what's happening. That's what you're doing through your greedy pursuits. And greed will cause you to do things to create more dark mojo, because even though you don't realize it, you are working for the darkness, and you have agreed to work for the darkness. As you indulge your greedy behaviors and your greedy desires, you feed that dark seed in you, and it gives it power. And you begin doing more things to support and bring about more dark, to create more dark mojo. People create the most dark mojo when they are oppressed. When they are oppressed, two things happen. Number one, they're stressed. When they're stressed, they create a lot of dark mojo. That's a negative emotion. Negative emotions create dark mojo. And when they are oppressed, they're also off the path of their life purpose. That's one of the big things with oppression, is keeping you from the path of your purpose and keeping you working towards some other goal other than your purpose, because your purpose will not support the dark. That's the main goal of all the oppressive institutions, to oppress us in such a way that we spin negative and create dark mojo, and that we're knocked off the path of our purpose. So they began to conspire to create these. What are those? The oppressive institutions we have today are political systems, economic systems, and the institution of organized religion. All three of those institutions were designed and engineered to oppress humanity. And to not get into that deeper conversation today on how exactly they do that, we'll just say this. Oppression causes stress. Stress is negative energy. Stress is dark mojo. When we experience stress, we are spinning negative, whether that's physical stress or mental stress. It's causing us to spin negative in some fashion. And then we're also off the path of our purpose. And very few people today are following the path of their purpose. Very few. Most people are spinning negative simply from the fact that they aren't pursuing their purpose, and that creates a whole bunch of energetic issues within us. So the whole purpose of the Spin Positive Master Series is to get people to spin positive and discover their purpose, because ultimately that's how humanity wins the great energy war. Because right now, through the oppressive institutions, they're rampant. Everybody on earth falls under an oppressive institution. Everybody falls under political systems and economic systems. Nobody except a few tribes get away from that. So everybody has to endure those. Those are oppressive to the majority of the people involved as a rule. And then 84% of the world's population identifies with a religion and considers themselves religious. And religion also oppresses us as well. So it's an uphill battle. A majority of the world today is oppressed through the oppressive institutions and spinning negative to some degree and creating dark mojo to some degree. That's caused what I talk about in the Spin Positive Master Series, the modern mojo mess. This incredible buildup of dark mojo that's all over the planet, that's negatively affecting the mojo clouds of each and every one of us. And it is. There is so much dark mojo in the world, just residually, built up everywhere, that it's getting harder and harder for you and I to spin positive each and every day, just because of the effect that energy has on our mojo cloud. And I talk about that in the Master Series, how that all plays out. And it's because of these oppressive institutions. It's the fact that about 1% of the population has consciously agreed to work for the darkness to create these oppressive institutions. And they do. And they're well aware of what they're doing. They understand it. Even if they don't understand the energetic war as good as we do here, they definitely know they're working for the darkness. Not a secret to them. But they don't care because they're rewarded with wealth and riches while they're here. Like I said, greed is a sickness. It's an addiction. As it goes through you, it becomes an addiction and it takes over your life, and it will, if allowed. It's one of those viruses that just gets completely out of control in people. And unfortunately, the greedy don't make good decisions. They don't make decisions that are sustainable long term. They think very short term oriented in achieving their goals. So unfortunately today, because of the oppressive institutions, the light is actually losing the great energy war here on Earth. I don't think that's hard to see when you look at things from an energetic standpoint and you start looking at everything from the standpoint of, will that create more light mojo or will that create more dark mojo? With this decision, are more people stressed and oppressed? Are more people spinning negative because of stress, whether that means they don't have food or something else has happened, or they're scared, or there's fear, or some other form of stress, physical or mental? Is it going to cause stress? Is it going to prevent someone from discovering the path of their life purpose? Or does this prevent someone from following their life purpose? Look at everything from that standpoint, and then you can see whether that supports the light or the dark. If humanity wants to win the great energy war, the first thing that it has to realize is we are fighting an energetic war first and foremost. And the things that we see in the political realm and in the economic realm are simply manifestations that are occurring because of this energetic war. And when bad things happen, most likely it's because of dark mojo somewhere along the chain. And in order for humanity to win the great energy war, like I said, we have to realize that it's an energetic war first and foremost, and then we have to fight that war with every decision we make. And when we make a decision, we have to say, does this create more light mojo or does this create more dark mojo? And if it creates dark mojo, we need to make another choice. And that's how we need to analyze everything in our systems and society. Does this create light mojo or dark mojo? And once humanity begins to make decisions that that create light mojo exclusively, then we'll begin to win the great energy war. But one of the first things we're going to have to do is fight back against greed. We can't give greed a green light the way we have. And we've got to take some of that power back from those who have too much because they're making bad decisions for the trajectory of humanity. So we need to fight greed first and foremost. It is the number one weapon used by dark mojo to throw humanity off its path. And it's doing a great job, and to also prevent the earth from spinning positive and creating light mojo. And of course, More species are going extinct all the time because of expansion and because of greed. Because we're going in and we're trying to extract resources for profit from places where things live, and that kills them off. But the profit is the most important thing. So when you start analyzing everything from that perspective, things begin to make sense. And when you realize that we are fighting this war and that every decision matters, then you can begin to see just how many things support the darkness as compared to the light. When the Republicans cut off health care for people and make their health care more expensive, is that going to stress people out? Yes. Is that going to create dark mojo? Yes. When the Republicans cut off SNAP benefits for people, is that going to stress people out? Yes. Is that going to create dark mojo? Yes. You got to look at it like that. You know, when ICE is going around terrorizing neighborhoods, is that going to create dark mojo, or is that going to create light mojo? When those people are stressed about whether or not they're going to get kidnapped that day and taken away from their families forever. That's a stressful fucking thing. So it doesn't take long to see how much dark mojo is created by political system and political policy. So today, humanity, because of the oppressive institutions, is stressed to the gills, and we're making so much dark mojo that's piling up in the environment around us. There's virtually nobody working for the light today. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's dangerous to have dark mojo piling up in the environment around us. Why? Because dark mojo doesn't sit there inertly. Like I already said, it affects our vibration level just in passing because of the theory of potential and energetic potential and all those things we talk about in Volume 1, how energy works. But also, dark mojo sitting around can gain a consciousness and begin to clump together to consciously work against the light. And it does. That is where demons come from. That is where devils come from. And from where all these conscious, what we call dark workers, come from. They come from dark mojo amassing and becoming so built up in the environment that it gains a consciousness. That's the same way light workers are born. Light workers are born of mojo too. They're born of light mojo. When light mojo comes together and is infused with source energy, you have a light worker. That's where angels come from, and cherubels and other light workers. Those are from amassed light mojo. The same thing happens on the dark side. When dark mojo clumps together, it begins to form a consciousness, and that's dangerous. Then you can have just clumps of conscious dark mojo hanging out in an area that's pulling the strings on people, because those can actually affect your decisions and behaviors, just like a demon can. That's essentially what they are. We call them dark workers. But that's where demons and stuff come from. It all comes from residual dark mojo in the environment. So if you get rid of that, you don't have any more demons being created. Then you fight the ones that are there and get rid of the ones that are there. And pretty soon you're fresh out of demons and you're fresh out of all dark mojo. And then you help everybody spin positive. How? By helping them be happy, healthy, and on the path of their purpose. Exactly what we do from the Spin Positive Master Series. The more people who spin positive, the less people who are feeling the problem. We have to learn how to spin positive in an oppressive world. And that's essentially what the Spin Positive Master Series teaches you how to do. It also unlocks your full power as a light worker. Light workers have a tendency to spin positive in all situations. And that's what we teach you how to do. Spin positive under all oppressive situations. That's life mastery, man. Having that understanding. And being able to spin positive and achieve your zenith being today, even though we have to endure these oppressive systems, is a challenge. But it's definitely doable. I find it crazy how many people get offended when I tell them that we can beat all dark mojo. No, you can't. You can't. Only Jesus can, or whatever. That is what I'm saying about religion. It was orchestrated to dupe us into not fighting the problem, or to thinking we're too powerless to fight the problem. In no way, shape, or form are we intended to endure dark mojo here on Earth. We're not. As light workers, like I said, light reigns supreme. We are intended to be awash in light mojo and source energy all day long. Dark mojo is only here to indicate a problem. It's to function the same way pain does. When you have pain, something's wrong. Something's messed up, you got to fix it. That's the same thing with dark mojo. When we experience dark mojo, it signals us that there's a problem somewhere, in one of our core systems and we're spinning negative and we have to fix that. It's just intended to be an attention getter and to show you and be indicative of a problem, to goad you into fixing that problem. And then you fix whatever's causing you to create dark mojo, and then you ground whatever dark mojo was created. Whatever little bit was created in that small window of time that you were spinning negative. That's how we are intended to live our lives. But that's not how we don't live our lives like that, because it would be impossible under the oppressive institution. As intended light workers, without special training like we get through the Master Series, we're never going to spin positive under oppressive conditions. Never. The darkness knows that. That's why everybody on earth, except for a few small tribes, must survive under and endure oppressive institutions. They're going to be oppressed in some way. They're going to be stressed, and they're going to create dark mojo. It's a function of the great energy war. So if we fight the greed, we get people to spin positive, we begin to turn this around, and we begin fighting the great energy war in the manner it was intended to be fought. Nobody's really fighting it today. Like I said, religion's bullshit. It ain't fighting nothing. It's supposed to be fighting the devil and keeping the devil at bay. And someday it's going to fight the devil and win. Bullshit. It's not. It's a ruse. We can fight the devil and beat the devil today. We don't need to wait. We could do it today, all of us together with our spiritual power. And that's what we're going to do through the Spin Positive Revolution. I'm getting enough of us together so we can do that. And that's also what we're doing through the Spin Positive Light Force. We're getting enough of us together that we can actually fight the devils and beat them and be rid of them for good. It can be done, and the devils know it, and they're shaking in their boots for the first time ever, because religion gave them cover and said, you can't beat us until some magical event happens. That's never going to happen. You have to have a savior come and save you from the darkness. You can't save yourself. That's what a lot of this religion stuff was designed to do, and to take our power away and to confuse and thwart our power, when in really we can fight the darkness today. And the Spin Positive Light Force is out there fighting it every day. That's what we do. We fight the darkness, and it is so easy to beat. Sometimes you feel bad going into a situation just knowing that when Spin Positive Light Force warrior light workers walk into a battle, and really only disruptor teams do that. It's what disruptor teams do. We go out on the ground and we fight dark mojo hand to hand. Most of that is fighting shit like demons, because that's where the problem really lies. They don't even put up a fight. They just give up nowadays. So there's really not much for us to do. We just go in and cleanse the space because they know they're licked. Dark mojo is so powerless to the light. And when you step fully into your spirit, when you step fully into your spiritual sovereignty, dark mojo cowers in your presence. Let me tell you, does it ever? It is humorous. You have all the power. The darkness has no power over you. The only power darkness has, whether it's in your life or in the world in general, is the power we give it. That's it. We give it every iota of power, and we can just as quickly take it away. And that's what we're doing through the Spin Positive Master Series, the Spin Positive Revolution, and the Spin Positive Light Force. That's how we win the great energy war. We have to fight it from the energetic level. And that's what we're doing. So technically, the pagans are the savior of humanity. The pagans had it right all along. Who knew? Yay, pagans! You had it right. Why? Because the pagans were tied into their natural spirituality. And they understood shit like the earth's energy and the moon and all that stuff was important. Even if they didn't understand it completely, they knew what they were doing. And they were doing all the right things. And they were spiritually pure and doing spiritually good stuff. And then, and they were fighting dark mojo the way it was intended to be fought. And then religion came around and confused us with the devil, and you got only God can beat the devil, or only this, and it's out of your realm, and you can't do that. And they confused us with all this stuff and said that these dark workers are out of our league. We can't fight them. You need spiritual help, and only religion can bring that. That's bullshit. Through our spirituality, we are unstoppable. And the Spin Positive Light Force proves that every day. We prove that every day as light workers out doing our stuff. So pagans, that's who we're appealing to today with the Spin Positive Revolution. Essentially, pagans, spiritual people who don't believe in religion but are still spiritual. I think historically those were pagans, or were called pagans. And we had it right all along, and that's who I am today. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person, but I don't believe in religion. I understand the dangers of religion, and the people who do that are the people we're trying to appeal to for the spin positive revolution. We want to get everybody who identifies with that, spiritual but not religious. We want to get them all working toward that same goal. And that's what we call a light worker, because all human beings are intended to be light workers. First and foremost, we are all powerful spiritual beings. We just have to relearn how to do that again. But everybody's intended to be a light worker. So that's what we want. We want all human beings who are spiritual but not religious in the fight with the spin positive revolution. So if you identify with that, drop an I'm in the comments, and I'll tell you how to get involved if you're not already. So good job, pagans. You're the savior humanity needs. Only you can fight the spiritual battle ahead because you have the spiritual power to do it. Good for you. You've avoided all the pitfalls that have stripped away spiritual sovereignty from those who claim to be religious. And now you have more power just sitting there in your chair as a spiritual person you are than the Pope has in his bubble mobile, because he's entered into those religious contracts, and he's only been afforded back however much power that the church wants him to have, and it's nowhere near his full power. Well, you have your full power because you're unencumbered by those contracts. Congratulations. Now, what we need to do, though, is we need to expand our base. We need to go out and we need to convert other people who are currently religious to our side. Now, that's hard to do because of this phenomenon called oppressive blindness. Oppressive blindness happens from the oppressive institutions. It's a phenomenon Dark Mojo uses. It's a function of the great energy war. But as living beings, when they suffer oppression over time, to salve their soul and to prevent them from feeling uneasy all the time, they begin to develop a phenomenon called oppressive blindness, where they are unable to sense and appreciate their oppression. They can't feel it fully the way they were intended to, and likewise, they can't identify the roots of it. They don't even realize they're oppressed. Now, you would say, well, isn't that a good thing? You don't want them feeling it? No, that's a bad thing, because then it lulls them into complacency. Oppressive blindness is bad. It lulls people into complacency and allows them to be oppressed when they wouldn't naturally put up with it. It's a function. It has to be there because as light workers, we wouldn't stand for oppression, especially when the multitudes agree that the oppression is wrong. There has to be some phenomenon in place that the darkness uses to prevent that, and it's called oppressive blindness. It's a phenomenon that occurs when living things are oppressed. They begin to, conscious living things with the rational ability to understand what's going on, they'll lose that ability to see their oppression and to fight it. So the oppressors can gain power. It's a function of the darkness, and it's working great today. So many people are oppressively blind, and unfortunately, the Abrahamic religions cause the greatest degree of oppressive blindness in people. So, the big three, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, all three of those Abrahamic religions cause incredible oppressive blindness in the people that follow it. And so it's hard to get through to them, but that's also how they're easy to recruit for these agendas of the darkness, and why a lot of people who do terrorist shit are religious extremists because of that oppressive blindness. And it's deep in the Abrahamic religions. And so a lot of Trump followers are Christian, and a lot of the GOP base is Christian. That's not an accident. That's a function of these oppressive systems and oppressive blindness. It's engineered that way. They've taken advantage of that oppressive blindness to say that they were all on the same page, and the people that follow them will never see just how against their best interest things really are. They will never be able to see it. To these people who are still MAGA today, you could talk sense to them until you're blue in the face and distill it down as easily as it can be explained to where any rational person would deduce that what's happening is bad for them, and they'll never get it because of that oppressive blindness. That's why it takes awakening. Awakening is the undoing of oppressive blindness. That's the beauty of awakening. Sometimes for some people that happens slowly, and the scales of oppressive blindness fall off slowly. Some people it happens in they take big steps in one direction, but that's what we need to happen. We need those scales of oppressive blindness to begin to fall from the people who are experiencing this through their awakening. And like I said, more of that's happening organically. We want more of that to happen organically. But eventually, when we get enough of us together, we can force the issue with the 100th monkey effect. But that's down the road. That's after we have organically converted many, many, many millions of people, billions of people, to the light naturally. Because we want it to happen organically, and it is. Every day, since we are setting these intentions, it's knocking the scales of oppressive blindness off more and more people. And they're coming to the light. And the more we set these intentions, the more that's going to happen. It's a wonderful phenomenon. But again, I can't begin to tell you how many people I hear say, I was MAGA, I'm not anymore. I just woke up one day and I had a different mindset, or something happened and it gave me a different mindset. It's happening. Keep up the good work. Keep setting those intentions because we're up against some powerful forces. Religion has people duped. Religion has people powerless. That's a big one. Economic systems have us oppressed and busy. Political systems have us divided in a big, big way today. We got to overcome the division from the political systems. All of this is intended and working as intended. So the system isn't broken at all. It's working exactly as it's intended to function, oppressing us in the manner that it does. That's why it's time for us to build something different, because I'm telling you, the systems are devolving. The things that we are seeing now and the way the planets are aligned, this is revolutionary stuff. And the world we see 20 years from now looks way different than the world we live in today. I just feel it in my bones. My prophecy says so. The things that are happening, more crazy stuff is happening that are shaking stuff up, that are changing things in big ways that you'd have never thought they could change. Did you ever think in a million years that one day they would just demolish an entire wing of the White House and build a giant ballroom? Did you ever think in a million fucking years that you would wake up one day and see part of the White House being demolished? I never thought that. Yeah, they might add to it or do something, but that shit was sacred fucking ground, man. Not no more. Nothing is sacred. Everything's burning. We're going to see some crazy shit in the years ahead, so be ready and keep setting those intentions and keep fighting the good fight. Get involved in that group stuff when we get that rocking and rolling here real soon. I want to get on that. I'm itching. I'm champing at the bit. I'm champing at the bit to get going on that. So, okay, real quickly. To win the great energy war, here's what humanity has to do. 3 steps. Number 1, we have to awaken. That's the spin positive revolution. That's what we're doing. Those scales of oppressive blindness have to fall. People have to see the problem. Number 2, we have to spin positive. That's what we're doing through the Spin Positive Master Series, teaching people how to spin positive under an oppressive system. We have to learn how to do that until we build something new. Okay, we've got to learn how to endure the oppression we experience and still come out ahead. And that's what the Spin Positive Master Series teaches you how to do. Spin positive and master this experience given no matter what's going on. That's what we have to do. That way we're creating positive energy all the time. This oppression can't get us down. We have to not allow oppression to cause us to create dark mojo. We just can't. Dark mojo is too dangerous. That's what the Spin Positive Master Series does. Teaches you how to spin positive in every situation. Number 3, we have to clean up the residual dark mojo that's already been created. And there's so much of it, I call it the modern mojo mess. It is literally everywhere. If you could see it, you would see, and for a brief time during my dark days, actually, I didn't consider it brief at all back then. For a while during my dark days, I was able to see dark mojo. I was able to see it building up in the environment around us. I was able to see people's mojo clouds interacting and how they were creating. I had to see that in order to put it in the way I did in the book series. It was great that I did, but it freaked me out. I really thought I was going nuts. But I'm telling you, it would look like, if you could see it, this is what it looked like to me. Back in the days when coal burned, when they burned coal for everything, the buildings were all dirty and everything looked dirty and dingy. That's what everything looked like. It was covered in this dark soot. Everything, man. And when people were spinning negative, they had this cloud of dark dust around them, like Pigpen in the Peanuts, you know. He would always have this dust around him. That was people spinning negative with dark mojo, and I could see that shit. And man, more people are spinning negative today than spinning positive, just by the function of the oppressive system, even if they don't realize it. Simply the fact that they're not fully pursuing their purposes enough to create the dark mojo. And that's just about every one of us And virtually nobody's on the path of their purpose today. Virtually nobody. Very few. And also, it was building up in the ground. It looked like clumps of tar. Some were small, like little slugs. It looked like someone just squirted tar out of a tube or a caulking gun, you know, that roof sealant. But some were huge, huge looking slugs just everywhere, of this black tar buildup of dark mojo that was everywhere, dragging down people's vibration level. I could see how it was interacting with their mojo clouds. I could see how their mojo clouds were interacting with everybody else. I'm telling you, it's a crazy thing. And it's so bad today. But if we clean it up, then the world changes and things get better. That's the job of the Spin Positive Light Force. That's what we're doing. We're cleaning up the residual dark mojo with the goal of cleaning it all up eventually and having enough people all over the world that we can clean it all up and get on with our lives. So that's what we have to do. That's the 3 steps humanity must take to win the great energy war. We can do it. We have to lose the oppressive blindness, and then we have to fight the problem. And then we have to fight greed. We can't let greed do its thing. And greed is the single reason why the oppressive systems are the way they are. It's all because of greed. So we got to fight greed. We got to spin positive. We can do this. So that's the great energy war in a nutshell, man. It is this universal battle between light and dark. It's going on. We don't really know why. There's some big function happening. The light's trying to outshine the dark, and the dark's trying to swallow the light. For some major reason, it's happening on a universal scale. The darkness happens to be winning on Earth. It hasn't always. We used to live under the perfect society and system and whatever, and everybody was spinning positive. Dark mojo sent greed down to us, which caused the invention of the oppressive institutions, which we slave under today, and that we are oppressed under today, every day of our lives. And through the oppressive institutions, humanity is oppressed. We're losing the great energy war. We're spinning negative and creating more dark mojo every day because of the oppressive institutions. We are creating all this energy to further fuel our oppressors, so we're actually getting weaker by the day. But we can win. We can win the great energy war. We can beat dark mojo. We can beat the forces of evil. All we have to do is first off fight greed, and then start spinning positive. And then we clean up whatever dark mojo's left around, and we're gold, man. Then we have the perfect society. That's why we say in the revolution that awakening is so important. Once humanity awakens, all that happens organically. Everything happens. Once humanity awakens, dark mojo is finished. It really is. The oppressive institutions are finished. They really are. So that's why we're intending for that first and foremost. And it's going to happen. Every person that spins positive is one less person fueling the darkness. So the goal is to get everybody in the whole wide world to spin positive. If you can use a little help in that direction, I urge you to begin your journey with the Core Enlightenment of Spin Positive in the Spin Positive Master Series. Become the next blue level mojo master of Spin Positive. And then once you are, you can join the Light Force and go to battle against dark mojo. Become one of us out there fighting it on the front lines. We'd be honored to have you on board. I have your copy of Volume 1 waiting for you at spinpositive.com. And if you aren't already fighting the Spin Positive Revolution and setting the intention set every day, head on over to spinpositive.com and download your copy of the PDF or buy this fancy copy. This is nice. This is nice. You want these laying around. You want many, many, many of these laying around because they're nice to have and they'll remind you and they're durable. They'll last the whole time. And also, something else that's very important. Every dollar of profit goes to further fund the Spin Positive Revolution. We got a lot of ideas and a lot of things cooking, so we need money. And if there is anything left over after we ship this out, we'll put it in the great pot to fund the Spin Positive Revolution further. So we need all the help there we can get to. So thank you. If you want to learn more about the Spin Positive Revolution, head on over to spinpositive.com. Thanks for checking this out. Until next time, brave warrior, stay safe out there and keep spinning positive.